Hi, welcome back again. Let's turn our attention now to a pressing issue that has sparked concerns across Nigeria. ATM cash shortage. Simple. You experienced it, I did. But the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, recently imposed fines totaling 1.35 billion naira on 9 commercial banks for their failure to dispense cash via ATMs. Now, this action comes amidst public frustration over persistent cash scarcity, particularly during peak periods when people need money the most, like dirty December.
Finally, they're doing their work. So these fines are part of the CBN's effort to enforce financial institutions' compliance with service delivery standards, ensuring that Nigerians have consistent and reliable access to cash. But what do these penalties mean for the banking sector, the economy, and most importantly, the average Nigerian? And so to help us unpack this and answer these questions that we have, we're joined by Muktar Mohammed. He's the CEO of Finance with Muktar. Muktar, many thanks for joining us. And let me just say that I bought a kilo of chicken from a kiosk in the market. And I said, okay, can I do transfer? And she said, if I'm doing transfer, I have to add 15 naira.
Yeah.
I was in confusion because this was her account. And then she said, she goes on to say that there's no cash. And it's also part of bank maintenance or something. I don't know. So, Muktar, the CBN's decision to fine 9 banks 1.35 billion naira for failing to disperse cash via ATMs, I think has been described as a bold move. Is it too late at this point after, what, 2-3 years of not being able to, I don't even know what ATMs, I don't even know how to operate it again, sorry.
You know, when people say it's a bold move, I tend to disagree because it's a bold move towards who? If those money were going to go to those people that they were not giving cash, that have lost a lot of money because of that, then that would have been a bold move. For you to say you made a bold move and those fines are going to be paid to CBN, I mean, I don't know how that has benefited the person that was going about from one point wasting his times until we begin to find banks based on what they have cost to their customers, and that money is paid to their customers before we begin to see banks change their attitude towards their customers. Like you just rightly pointed out, a lot of these things are, when they happen, they tend to increase cost of goods and services and in turn for inflation. And that's what they are not looking at yet. And sometimes the CBN battle inflation by doing this, by doing that. But there are things that are actually driving inflation that they are not really looking at. So that, for me, I don't think the fining of the banks is anything different. We've seen fines more than this before to banks. It has not achieved anything. Since these fines were done to the banks, how many ATMs do you have cash? Then even you go across the counter, you can only get up to 20,000 naira across the counter. Well, I keep saying Nigeria SME space, which is the informal sector, is largely driven by cash. And like you say, the market woman, you go there. And once they don't have cash, then you are killing that sector of the Nigerian economy. Unfortunately, that's what our leaders are doing, because they are not taking the bull by the horn. So you are finding the bank 1.3 billion. They have not changed their attitude. It's a 1.3 billion to this bank. It's just like a drop in an ocean. It doesn't mean anything. It's the banks that are washed with a lot of liquidity.
Okay, Muktar, let's take a look at the instance itself, the scarcity itself. There's no monies at these ATMs. Is it an operational flaw by the banks, or is it that they are also themselves experiencing cash scarcity? But if that's the case, then how come the POS operators always seem to have enough cash for me to borrow, or rather to take, but the banks never do? And the banks are supposed to be the one place where you get all the money you want in the world. So what exactly is it? Is it an operational flaw? Are they experiencing cash scarcity themselves? Or is this just something that profits them one way or the other to give it to POS operators instead of directly to the customers?
Well, systematic failure in the side, that's a systematic failure by the CBN also. And the last, what you just said lastly, is what also is happening. It favored them to give to POS operators. These are done by bank staff that are going to benefit from it. It's not necessarily done by the hierarchy of the banks, but this happens. And the hierarchy of the banks also are culpable. The CBN is culpable. We are talking about cash. We are not talking about dollar now. We are talking about naira that is actually in our own control. And you see, what that means is two things. When you say the bank are culpable, I've told you where the bank are culpable. Maybe they are not able to deal with their staffs that are involved in all these fraudulent activities. Secondly, the CBN is culpable because they are the sole, when I use the word, the sole distributor of cash to most of these banks. So is it that they're not giving them enough cash or they're giving them a cash? But again, when you look at the banks that can boldly tell you, you come into the banking hall, just take 20,000, that means the CBN is a no. And one of the tools that you use to control inflation is reduction of liquidity in the system. So that, for me, is part of the measure that the CBN are adapting, even if they are not coming out to say it publicly that, oh, we are trying to tame inflation, we tend to reduce liquidity so that we'll be able to control. Remember that when we are complaining that there's no cash, the CBN came up with a report that 4.1 trillion naira is in circulation. And you ask yourself, where is this 4.1 trillion naira that we are still experiencing cash scarcity? So there's a dysfunction between the CBN and the bank. But what I can deduce from it is that the CBN itself are the sole distributors of this currency to the bank. They need to answer the question before we now begin to ask the bank. Remember, there have been times where these officials of CBN have gone to bank, lock up those banks, see cash were there, but they were not ready to disperse it to customer based on what their manager told them. So it's all about the systematic failure in that the system itself is flawed. So everybody take advantage of it.
Muktar, I remember the glorious year of 2022 and the first quarter of 2023 leading to the election cycle for 2023. A wonderful time in the history of Nigeria.
And the Nigerian Naira.
And in Nigerian Naira. with the introduction of the new currencies.
Photocopy.
Okay,
sorry. I'm sorry.
I am professional, I promise, okay? I should not have laughed like that.
Sorry, go ahead.
You know, so introduction of the new currency, the redesign of the Naira at the time, and then the mopping up of the old Naira that we saw, and the fiasco and the chaos that happened. And during that time, the question was raised about the cashless policy that we were trying to achieve.
So is this
success?
So
it's now, what is really the narrative? Are we trying to, curtail our liquidity so that we can somewhat snip our inflation, or are we throwing out, the cash shortage? What exactly is it with, our system, and where can we find a balance with a cashless policy that is still very much at the forefront, and trying to curtail inflation and also tackle cash shortages? You're the expert. Tell us.
To tackle, to answer that question, when you talk about how do we balance it, no economic in the world operate totally cashless. Even the best United States of America, the largest economy, then even China, you don't just operate cash, you don't do total cashless. It is not done anywhere. So you cannot achieve that. Even in the United States, if you go in there, you have cash, you are able to go to the bank, and as long as it's your cash, you can justify it. Then you have your cash. Nobody's going to stop you from using your cash. Even if they are going to advise you, they say, we advise you based on security reasons. That is one. Then secondly, infrastructure is key. If you want us to go cashless, then there must be the infrastructure. But you and I know that infrastructure is shorting. There's a shortage of infrastructure. And this is, I keep saying that if the CBN wants to go cashless, instead of fining the bank 1.3 billion, why not you also as the CBN come together and have a sharing to share infrastructure like what is done globally, where different banks come together to share infrastructure, so that there will not be all this network failure that we experience. So that's one thing that is making people not to have confidence in the system, because sometimes you put your card in the ATM, it says it dispense money, and yet you did not see the money. You go to the bank, you have to wait for 7 working days. And so there's a lot of those are administrative purposes. In developed economy of the world, even if you go and complain that somebody has actually taken your money, maybe fraudulently take your money from your account, the first thing the bank will do is to return that fund to you and then begin their investigation. But here in Nigeria, they will tell you to wait. We have to investigate, we have to do that, we have to do that. It could even last for 1 month, 2 months. So those are part of why people are not so interested in doing cashless. So you need to begin to bring incentives An incentive is when you are doing cashless, sometimes you pay so much fee. So a lot of people, that's why you see the market woman that you went to was telling you that, look, you have to pay 15 because she doesn't want to bear the cost of that fee, because that has also increased the cost of our goods and services. Rather, he will sell that good for you to pay that fee. So the balance should be, we build the infrastructure, then we don't make it like I said, it's not mandatory. You're talking about the POS terminals now. The POS were largely designed to meet short-term needs of 5,000, 20,000, and 50,000. How the POS has evolved to begin to give people 5 million, 6 million is appalling, and that shows that the regulators themselves are not up to their game. They need to up their game to monitor the POS operators. So it's a challenge, but again, the way out is build robust infrastructure, educate Nigerians, and then reduce those fees so that people can comfortably. And that by doing that, we are reducing the number of people you see in the bank, like what you see in developed nations of the world. So it's not something that cannot be done. It's something that cannot be done. But what we are seeing at this time is like you are forced to. So you say you must do it, and you don't have the infrastructure. So what it means that a lot of us are trying to do the same thing at the same time, and it is failing because we have been forced to do that. So you don't force people with their money anywhere in the world. It is their money. It's not the proceeds from crime. It is their money. So they decide how they want to spend their money. So for me, the cashless policy, we have to thank the fintech companies. They've come in. A particular payment company seems to be the best that every small businesses want to use because of efficiency in terms of delivery of services.
Yeah.
So we need to begin to look at that.
But they've also blamed fintech as well for the proliferation of the POS operators as well. Yeah. They've blamed them and say that because of them, there's no cash in the ATMs, and there's now there's another economy on the side.
Let me ask you: do the CBN give cash to fintech operators?
No.
Does the fintech operators have any bank?
Absolutely.
Do they have any POS terminal? So, when you are beginning to blame people that are even helping, because the fintech operators are linked to the account in the bank, you are not going to use them and then go to an ATM to withdraw cash. None of them have ATM and stand to be corrected. All you need to do is that you use your phone through a code, and then you do a transaction to the other person at the other end. Now, if the other person at the other end needs cash, he has to go to the POS. Whose fault is it? So for you to say, okay, you need cash, you're using my app, I should stop you and ask you, why do you need cash? You don't have to collect cash. Look, let's not deceive ourselves. You look at the rural area.
We run a very capitalist economy, you know what I mean? You find a problem, you solve it. If it's at the detriment of other people paying extra for, I paid 200 naira for 5,000. I'm buying in naira.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that in itself is an evolution of the way things are when it comes to our financial system inside of Nigeria. And I don't know whether to embrace it or to critique it. However, you said something during your submission there. You said that no country in the world operates with a cashless system. It is impossible, especially for one like Nigeria. So what are the broader implications of this in Nigeria here, a country that is absolutely cash dependent? What are we looking at happening if this persists?
You see, what is happening, if this persists, all you need to look, like Juliana said, look back to 2022, is it 2023, 2022? What happened during the cashless, the redesign of the Naira, how the kind of chaos that was all over. That is what will happen. Secondly, you will kill one of the most vibrant sector of the Nigerian economy, which is the sector that employed Nigeria more, the informal sector. Because the informal sector is that market woman, that guy that have a barbering salon, the vulcanizer on the road, the mechanics. They are the largest employer of labor in Nigeria, those informal sector. And once you starve them of cash, you are killing them. And once you kill them, they will reduce their workforce. And what you have more unemployed Nigerians on the streets because their businesses are no more thriving, because their business are largely driven by cash. So that is just basically what will happen. And again, by doing that, you are also putting more pressure on the bank, exposing a lot of citizens to security challenges. So the whole idea is, if the CBN have to midwife it, they have to midwife it. The bulk, as far as I'm concerned, stop at the table of the CBN.
So where do you stand? Do you say we embrace this new evolution, or that we stop it dead on its track?
No. Cashless has come to stay. Cashless has come to stay. There's no economy in the world that is completely, that you see cash being the highest form of transaction. Cashless has come to stay. But what I'm saying is that in the rural area, you have come up with a system, which is a POS system. It's just to meet short-term need. You must also be able to monitor those POS. Where POS terminals are now source of crime spot, where people go to withdraw money that they stole from people's account and transfer that, or where betting platform are now where you store people money. I think those are all comes down to the regulators to begin to regulate all these things and put so that I will be excited to do cashless. I cannot do cashless. I do a transaction and I'm not getting delivery for that, and I go to the bank is telling me to wait for 7 working days. What if that's my last phone? Well, how do I do? What will now happen to me? So they need to come out and say something like I said, globally, especially in developed economy. Once you complain that, look, this is the issue, whether you are lying or whether you are saying the truth, you will be refunded and when investigation will not be done, and those investigations do not take forever, and they found out that you are culpable, you will be arrested and you have to pay. You have to pay the price for what you have done. So the justice system is there to work. So everything, if we really want to work, we need a system. The system will come with the judiciary. The system will come with the security agency. The system will come with the financial sector. The system will come with the CBN. Midwifing all these processes. Then you make it comfortable for us to say, look, I want to do cashless transaction. I'm from the comfort of my room. And I still say, if you want people to be interested in cashless, if I'm not taking the point to go to the bank, if I'm helping the CBN not to print so much money, remember CBN print this money, they pay. So I'm helping them to reduce costs. I'm helping the bank to reduce the number of people they have in their banking hall. You need to give me an incentive. I shouldn't be paying the kind of fee I'm paying.
Muktar, I must say that the last 2 times I needed cash, going to an ATM, just by chance it worked, was the most, it felt like a miracle. You know, I felt like I was back in 2009.
It felt like NEPA bringing lights.
You know what I mean? It felt like something went off in my brain. In fact, I couldn't operate it after some time, you know. And so this swift action by CBN, although a lot have argued that it's a bold move, some have said it's too late, and seeing that this 9 banks are now being fined 1.3 billion, we've now seen a wave with all the banks now working. I mean, 280, there's one bank next to my estate. I think I've never gotten money out of it in years.
I know the one.
I'm finally able to get cash. What it was, I didn't understand what was going on. In fact, when I saw somebody go out from the hall there with money, and I went in there and I got money, something went off in my head. And so it begs, so do you think that with that, other banks will move, you know, swiftly? I mean, we've seen the swift move with other banks. And also, what lessons is there to learn for the banks and also for CBN when it comes to service delivery, the standard of service delivery that we need in safeguarding, you know, customer experience with our Nigerian banks?
I think the Nigerian banks have to wake up and begin to deliver services to their customers. That's all it means. What type of service I need to go in, like you said, it didn't used to be like this in 2010, 2000. I mean, even in 2020, before I think all this crisis started, during this redesign of the Naira. And we know why they were doing that. But now we have seen the whole reasons about it. So we have to go back to the basic, make fund available, especially during festivity period, especially during weekends. That was why the ATM came to be, because they want to serving people during the weekend, especially when you need cash. And they also evolved and have POS terminal before they came up with POS points. POS point was as a result from the rural areas whereby there's no banks very close. Some people have to travel like 5 to 6 kilometers. Some have to travel 10 kilometers to withdraw money, and the security challenges were there. So they created the POS terminals to be able to address this, which in itself is innovative. So what I would say is that the CBN must be famed with the bank to say, look, you have erred, you are fine, and then they should also think a way of compensating the people that have suffered as a result of their own inability to monitor this bank. Whether they say they have tried, whether they say they release cash, is their inability that is causing the pain that the people are going through. So they cannot be benefiting from their own pain, from their ineffectiveness to monitor the banks. For me, that's where I stand.
I mean, and Muktar, finally, for just the sake of, I said no.
The producers are asking us to round up, but it's so exciting.
But they were very excited. And then let's also just talk about, the CBN in and of itself and their job, really. And also when it comes to fintech as well, because fintech is a conversation that needs to be had. In them aiding the financial system itself, they have provided very stellar, services in there. What is CBN? Is CBN supposed to bring them onto the table? What is missing out in just pretty much achieving a somewhat of a hybrid cashless policy, system?
I think the CBN has to bring them to the table. And again, you have to improve the infrastructure. It's an ongoing. Nigeria has a population of about 200 million. And sometimes you don't know, maybe you have up to 10% of this population at the same time thinking to withdraw money. So that means the back end will have a big challenge. So the challenge that we have mostly is the infrastructure. So they need to work on that infrastructure. The CBN need to begin to look at the fintech company and begin to, if you have to give license to fintech company, how viable are they? How liquid are they to improve their infrastructure? Again, the CBN also they've done well through the Ministry of Communication, NCC. And by talking to banks to pay off some of this fintech because this company, because of those short code that they use, they are owing them over 2-point-something billion to about 200-something billion. That need to be resolved and resolved on time so that these people can be able to have fun to invest into newer and better technology. So the CBN is the midwife of all these things. He's the one who will communicate with the bank. He's the one who will communicate with the fintech company. Like I said, this fintech company have no bank, and that is the way they are made to operate.
Muktar, I want to say thank you very much for a very exciting session here. And I feel much more educated, quite frankly. However, you did note something that I'm going to bring you on another segment to talk about, and that's the involvement of betting houses in the financial system. That's a big, broad topic, but we'll talk about that on another occasion. Thank you very much, Muktar.
My pleasure always to be on your program.
Always. Thank you.